Urban Crag Climbing Center is a rock gym located in Dayton, Ohio, with 8,000 feet of textured and sculpted vertical terrain ranging from 28 to 56 feet. For more info, go to urbancrag.com or call 937-224-CRAG.
We're gradually trying to replace the honeysuckle. I didn't want to tear it all out because then there's nothing green. So pussy willow bushes and lilac bushes. We're getting 2 apple trees at the end of the month, so I'm real excited about that. So our beds are raised beds. We did test the soil here. You know, we were a little concerned because it was railway yard if there was any like heavy metals or anything like that. There wasn't, probably because it sat for 50 years, right? But it wasn't very nutritious. Pretty much, this is all rock. And you hit asphalt probably 4 inches down. So we had to put something in that's nutritious. So we're doing lasagna beds, which is different layers of organic material. It's like growing in a compost pile. So we top them every year. Yesterday, that's what all our volunteers did. Put down some manure from the fairgrounds that had been sitting for 10 months. And then our compost, I'll talk about our compost program in a little bit, but that had been sitting for 8 to 10 months. And, you know, it's not quite done. It was steaming yesterday when they spread it. But being a lasagna bed like that, we're waiting a little while to plant it. And then topped it with, we had to buy some finished compost still because we can't make it all ourselves. We haven't had enough time. So top it with the finished compost. But raised beds say better drainage, okay? And it's a lot easier for a lot of people to get to, right? These are made for square foot gardening, so you don't have to step on the soil. You can reach all parts, you know, from all around it. So they're 4 by 12 pieces. We do have some perennial beds. This is our asparagus bed, and the rhubarb bed got put in last year. And those, yeah, are perennial flowers. We got a bunch of flowers donated at the end of the year, and we didn't have any place to put them. So they're going to go in that new bed by the arch, but we needed to winter them, so those and the ones in the back. But so our gardeners can share the perennial beds. We also have a perennial herb bed. We might put a strawberry bed. We might have to hide it so like people don't come and eat it.
And the bunnies.
Both of our buildings, I'm using examples of sustainable architecture. We actually are appearing on the Ohio Solar Energy Tour as passive solar design. But we got this from Blue Rock Station. Blue Rock Station is in eastern Ohio. It was the first earthship east of the Mississippi. If you're not familiar with earthship, basically it's a house using tires that are filled full of clay and compressed with sledgehammers until they're like so packed they bulge. And believe it or not, like you can get about a cubic yard of clay in each tire if you compress it. So it's hard work, you know. But this is our foundation then. Each one's about 300 pounds when you're done, okay? So we have like 3,000 pounds of foundation on this. So we took this design from them, and they took it from a site in Scotland, actually, using the pop bottles and a little bit of information about how many bottles are thrown away every year. And instead of recycled, there's a huge percentage that are still thrown away. And, you know, the big float in the middle of the Pacific and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of reuse, okay? So they're just cut and slit together. Stiver's 7th grade class collected 800 bottles and cut them all up, you know. So it's just a regular frame foundation, frame structure. And if you feel it, I mean, with the wire there, it's pretty rigid. It's not quite done yet. I don't have the gutter on it. And we do have black rain barrels in the back. The black helps soak up the sun during the day and passive release at night, so it keeps it warm throughout the evening.
How warm is it in there? Like
it's generally 20 degrees more than out here.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely a seasonal greenhouse. We don't have a manual vent system. You know, you can see that between the rafters it will release some heat. So it's going to be a early spring, late fall kind of extend the harvest. Hopefully we can start our own seeds, maybe grow some for the market, you know, all that kind of stuff. More creative reuse, right? What do you do with old paintbrushes when they're done? The back wall of this was originally supposed to be straw bale in the design, but we've done straw bale and shed. It takes forever, and I want to try something new. So I've got a bunch of pieces of wood that are cut there. A tree fell down in my yard, black walnut. You know how you cut cordwood, you know, for a fire in quarters and stuff. So there's a construction method called cordwood construction. It's basically like setting bricks in mortar, but you're using pieces of cordwood. So this back wall would be cordwood. And it makes it nice because then you can like put hooks on it and hang your tools and all that kind of stuff. So we'll try another. Long story about the worms. The robins love it. But so we basically started making compost in September. And we had this whole thing last year where when the city stopped leaf collection, Lucy with the garden, Community Garden Association, she had a couple community gardens that were leaf drop-off sites, which is great. We're all like, yeah, we can use it. Well, the EPA said, no, you can't do that. You have to register your compost site with the EPA. You have to keep records of what you put in it, where it comes from. We're like, are you kidding? We can't do this. This is a community garden. This is a volunteer organization. We don't have staff for that. So we had a huge letter writing campaign last spring. And we did get an exemption for under 300 square feet of compost on the ground. That's not cubic piled up. So that's like 18 of these. So that's great because really you need the compost to start any type of like urban ag program, which is what we're trying to do. Like some of our farmers are farming vacant lots right now, and it's the same kind of thing. It's not necessarily real nutritious soil. So that passed officially in April. So we are collecting, these are from Christopher's restaurant. They do a lot of organic vegetables, a lot of local. Olive has just started doing some drop off here because they were building their own garden with theirs. And pressed coffee grounds, fairgrounds, manure, so we're collecting. And we're trying to start neighborhood compost sites, okay? We've already talked to some people at the city, and they're not ready for a compost pickup. They just started recycling, like, within the last couple of years. So we have a prototype compost bin over there with a metal screening. It's based on the growing power compost bins that helps prevent mice from getting in, things like that. And the plan is, I hope that I'd have it up today, is we'll have educational signs, just like on the greenhouse. One, what is compost? What do you need to make it happen? You need nitrogen, you need carbon, you need air, you need water, okay? And a list of what you can compost, what's compostable, what is not compostable, and how to do it. So the plan is to have a bin set up, starting at community garden sites with the educational sign and a big pile of wood chips as the carbon, because most people are bringing nitrogens, their greens, their veggie clippings. And if you just have those, it turns into a slimy mess. Like I said, you need the carbons, you need the nitrogens, right? So it tells them, well, put your greens there, pile wood chips on top of it. The goal is we'll have enough people using these sites that we'll run out of room so fast that the city will see that there is a demand for composting. The bottom of this is a shipping crate. We put the top on it because it leaks like crazy. But our gardeners have their tools and stuff in here also, our mower. So we just have a cheap little mower, push mower. It takes 6 hours to mow this place. So the gardeners right now can do all that. They, as part of their rental agreement, they also do an hour a month of maintenance, either mowing, watering, or weeding. And right now they're doing all the mowing, which is awesome, And the plan is when we finish, hopefully they'll be able to do all the maintenance. We're trying to build in all the care of this into the place so it's shared by everybody instead of a couple people. Right now there's 4 main people that are 20 to 40 hours a week each, volunteer, that are running this. And I think after the building part is done, it'll be very easy to maintain just with the gardeners. And then the farmers market, some of the fees from that help pay our insurance and our utilities. And, we'll need a little bit here and there just for maintenance. And we have some issues with our straw bale shed. The water's wicking up the back, so we might have to replace it. It's still wrapped because the straw bale final coat that seals it has to have builder's lime in it. We're not to that point yet. It's coated with a mix of clay, sand, and straw. And it does become hard. I mean, even this has been out in the weather, but it's hard. But like I said, it has to be sealed. Before we seal it, I want to do sculpted cob, which is kind of a raised design. So it'll be basically a tree with roots and branches, and then once the design is on there, we'll seal it and it will be like a piece of art. There is a green roof on top, mostly just a sod and maybe some wildflowers and probably some weeds. This whole front, originally, like I said, this is Blue Rock Station design, and they came out and taught this as a workshop in conjunction with Metro Parks. But originally had a porch. But that made it too big for the zoning regulations here. It would have bumped us up into a whole nother mess of category. So we need to come up with something waterproof. So I came up with this kind of based on my class in Philadelphia. He had bottles, like the whole bottle sticking out of walls he had built. Figured here people would break those. So we came up with the 2 bottle butts put together, taped them, built the frames, put them in frames, and it's a concrete Portland cement sand mix. and it's waterproof, and it's like a stained glass window. Hopefully when we put the stage in, we'll trench so we can like have an outlet inside and put it on dusted on sensors so that it'll light up at night and you'll really be able to tell. But you can look inside and check it out. More reuse. These were found on site, rail race bikes. Do the stage that do traffic lights for the city also do Dayton musician service, so they know band equipment and amps and all that stuff. So we have 5 circuits. So we can do a light board and like bar and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the awning part it's been challenging to get for a budget, right? So we're on our 3rd design. Hopefully it'll be some kind of awning and then a freestanding deck. It can only be 30 inches high without a railing, and then we'll skirt it with bottle walls. Hopefully we'll have storage underneath. We've had a lot of events like weddings and receptions and festivals and fundraisers, potlucks. So hopefully we'll be able to have our own tables and chairs that people can have, like nice ones for events like that. We'll store them underneath. So that's the plan. So we are collecting donations for the stage. Our area needs a little bit of help. But I'm trying to, like I said, get a wildflower area going. We do have bunnies that are like moving in. The pond is still, we're trying to top it off with limestone to make it a little more natural looking, and we'll stuff it with sedums and stuff to make kind of a rock garden there. And I think there are goldfish in it. EJ takes care of it, and I don't know, he took and turned the pump off, but we usually have a little fountain jet going. So, but this is like a magnet for kids. So we did have to mortar these ones. We didn't mortar the ones in the front, but I was telling folks we had a fundraiser. There was a dog rescue that had a fundraiser here last year. It was super hot. We had the sprinklers going. So the kids run through the sprinklers, go play in the sand pile that we use to mud the shed, and then come here and get in the pond. But they have a good time. Get some water, and the plan is to build like 3 6-foot counters, you know, mosaic countertop, weatherproof. We have corrugated metal roofing we'll use for the sides and the roof. And this will be inside, and we'll have like a fridge and a microwave for right now. We have had Sunday night, we've had electronic music DJs set up. We're still trying to figure out the schedule for this year because there's been some changes with them. But, you know, they have a potluck, so it'd be great to have this available for some of the wedding receptions. We've had groups have meetings and picnics and stuff here, so it'd just be another thing that would make it a little more usable. And then the bonfire they usually do for their Sunday nights. And also for First Friday, our regular events. First Friday for the Art Hop, we have live local bands. And thanks. Then the first Saturday of the month is the really, really free market. And that's basically people have stuff that's still good, but they can't use, but they know someone can, so they bring it and everything's free that first Saturday. And then we always have something. This next Urban Nights, we're trying to do, the library is loaning us rock band, so we're doing rock band playoffs, you know, challenge. And hopefully we're doing an urban putt-putt course out of old wood pallets. So we're working on that. Let's see. And then the Sunday market. This is our big event that we're working on that's in support of just keeping the space, you know. We're about, I kind of describe it as the emphasis is permaculture, creative reuse, and community is kind of what we do here. And so that's kind of, we're adding a whole sustainability workshop series. So seed starting is going to be the first class today at 1:30. We're also going to have things like how to make your own cheese, home brewing. We've got the new bike guys that are doing like a bike maintenance. We've got a guy from a local hardware store doing basic power tool skills, you know, just things like that. So that will kind of add to what we're doing as well. So I think that's pretty much most of it. So if you have any questions or...
I've got a question.
Yeah.
How do you keep the volunteers motivated? That's in any volunteer project.
Right.
I'm like, wow, how were you able to get to do this? Because everyone gets excited at first. And
yeah. And that's always been, because a lot of this has been grunt work, serious grunt work. I mean, hand digging the trenches for those footers, you know. But we have a really good rotation of fresh volunteers all the time with UD and the United Way and different businesses and stuff. And then our core group, you know, like some of them, like Ed is here 30 or 40 hours a week. He's awesome, but he's tired of building garden beds, you know?
Yeah.
So we just bring in the fresh people to do that kind of thing. But like I said, we're getting real close to the end of the building phase. So I think once that's done, the maintenance is going to be not too hard to do it all. And
Okay.
the gardeners can do a lot of that just on a regular basis, spread out just a couple hours each a month.
And you got recreation here too.
Pardon?
You got recreation here too.
Recreation.
That's a good place to chill after you're done.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
helping
yeah.
out. Yeah.
So, I mean, we have a lot of people just kind of hang out, like I said.
Okay.
The first markets is today, the 6th and the 20th. So we have like every other week or something for May, and then we start weekly in June, just because early in the season there's not as much produce ready. But yeah, for all of the markets that we have, we've got, I think we have like 20 workshops so far. We don't have them plugged into dates. I'll probably do the next one on some garden planning kind of stuff. And then I think the one after that, we're actually doing the build on the garden bed, so I have to have someone else teach one of theirs. But yeah, so we will be
And do you
trying
have
to
a
do.
website? Do you
Yeah,
have that-
and the
does that
card
work?
is up front. The Facebook page is the best place, and it's public. Even if you're not on Facebook, you can go facebook.com/gardenstation and see everything. So, yeah, but we've also got another website that's kind of starting, but it's like all volunteer, so, you know, it takes a little while. But I post everything on Facebook that I can, you know, for events and things like that.
If someone from another neighborhood says, "This is great. I want a garden station in my
I've
neighborhood,"
had people call.
what?
I
Where
had a-
where would someone start? I mean, you've been through this now. Obviously,
Yeah.
you learned the lessons and made the mistakes.
A lot of it, you know, the thing is where to find stuff people are getting rid of. Like
Okay.
thrown away materials. Volunteer groups, United Way does that everywhere. Apprentice programs, like union apprentice programs, are great because they're learning how to build stuff and they just as soon have hands-on experience.
Sure.
So, you know, I know a community garden in Toledo that had their wooden fence built by a carpenter's union kind of thing. So that's been a great resource. But you do need to have people that stick with it. It's a lot of time. But like I said, once it's in, I think that it's going to be maintainable by just the community that's already here.
Yeah, because we were doing a walk through Dayton View a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that people mention is that there's a lack of culture centers in neighborhoods nowadays.
Right. Well, it's the connection, and that's also with the market and the workshop series and stuff, you know, to try and provide a community connection.